Here we are, the ending of Gozyuger and the end of Super Sentai as we know it right now. I honestly did not see this day coming, to be honest, but I thought that I would review the last episode. So at the very beginning, we got a brief recap of what happened in episode 48, and I don't think most people would have thought that the Thanos snap would have happened. I didn't think that they would just add that in. It was something a bit weird. But yeah, all the characters got pretty much Thanos snapped into oblivion. This meant that every single ring became Horu's, and he was the winner of the ring war. I did find it very weird that Fire Candle was the last boss of the series. I thought it would have been the Calamity, which we saw previously, which would have made more sense. I will say that the fight between Horu and Fire Candle, there was a lot of emotion. I generally really liked more of the fighting, because seeing Horu just go absolutely like mental after the loss of his entire team really kind of brought to it. But I generally wanted him to do it a little bit more, like be really kind of a bit more wild than what we got, and he kind of like held back a little bit. Horu has just lost his entire team, so he would have been full on power with Red. That would have been the most thing, using all the abilities that he has. And I think that what made me chuckle was just seeing random parts of buildings, like why are they there? It is a generically random thing. But if you watch back at the end of episode 48, there is nothing that gets knocked back with Horu. Like, there is nothing there, so I don't know why they put it in. The civilian fight was pretty convincing, to be honest. It felt like there was a lot of anger, and I did kind of think that Fire Candle was still teaching Horu a lesson all the way through. But seeing Gyrudo come back was fun. I generally thought that it was really cool. It looked like they shot it at the very end of the day, because when you look at the light that goes around and like how it falls on the costume, it's a little bit different, and I generally could picture the breeze that was flowing all the way through. But then we got the callback to Horu and how he was thinking about his friends and what he liked about them. I generally thought it was a nice touch, because this showed that the character has grown, that he now has to have his teammates, that he thinks of them as friends rather than just people being there like he met them at the very beginning. And this showed that the character had a lot of growth, and that's what I generally really liked. Doing the ring war was a really nice touch. It was along the lines of like, hey, can you bring back my friends? I really miss them. So yeah, like we all knew that he would do this over time. It generally was going to be a thing. But yeah, it was a really nice touch. And one thing I did love, I loved seeing the referee just randomly in the middle of the battle. Like, again, I really liked the referee parts where they're just chanting and it's like bringing them together for this like massive boxing tournament that they're doing. So yeah, it was a nice thing to bring him back, and yeah, they treated him like he was the number one. Having everyone walk out like they're basically ready to fight was again fantastic, and it just kind of kept everything together, everything that we've seen through the past year. I want to give my thoughts on the whole Sumino thing, because it generally really irked me a little bit, and the fact is that they just really wanted to green screen her in. I feel like it was just it was bad. I feel like they could have at least reshot some of these like last parts to kind of bring her in so she's actually there with them, rather than, oh hey, you're kind of off camera right now, aren't you? It just kind of feels like they just added her randomly at the very end, like, oh shit, we've got to put her in somewhere. And that's what's really got me, because this is your last epic moment, this is your last big thing, and yet you didn't properly green screen her in, and that's what kind of got me. Even when they did the helmetless thing, that's what really got me, because there is an image out there of her looking the way of the others, so I'm guessing that they could have filmed this and they just didn't. And just for the last thing where we see the Rangers without their helmets, it just felt really bad, and it really annoyed me a little bit. But as I said, I did love the entire boxing ring thing. I feel like that really like sets it out, and it did make the Sentai for me. I like the way that they did it, and they kind of like brought everything back. It was nice to see. I love the chanting. It's still one of the things, and also the kind of shit talking that they do. It just, again, makes it really stand out more than any of the other Sentai. And also, why is like Goody Burn there? I know he's meant to represent the 6th Ranger, but it was just really random to place him in there, and it just felt really out. Like, they didn't need to add him. You could have had the others all together, like doing their thing, and it wouldn't have taken away. It would have definitely have been them, because we know that the Sixth Ranger's dead. So having Goody Burn there made no sense to me. But you know, hey, it's a simple thing. We might as well do it. Oh, there were so many good points and so many bad points in this. Bringing back the past Ring Warriors was something I really liked, and I didn't expect it, to be honest. I really didn't. And I'm so glad that I stayed off Twitter, because I know that would have been ruined for me. So yeah, seeing that to me was fantastic. And I just loved the whole leading into the fights. They were absolutely insane. And just seeing the president come back, putting on the Don Momotaro suit one last time, and just hearing the sunshine, I genuinely loved it. Considering I used to hate it, I absolutely loved this. But what made me laugh halfway through was when Haru says, like, oh hey, yeah, I've got a job interview the next day, so I have to finish this quickly. I didn't expect it, and I kind of thought they'd forgotten all about that. Like, they just got rid of it completely. So I'm glad that they brought it in and they put it in there. So yeah, the fight at the end wasn't too bad to see a finisher. I thought though that Gozu Polar would have come in at the behind them to kind of push the energy attack towards Fire Candle. That was my main kind of thing that I thought was going to happen, but nah, they didn't. They just kind of went, hey, do you know what? Let's completely have him off to the side, hitting him. I was just like, come on, man, really? Just really? One thing I really did like was having Haru and Fire Candle become friends at the very end. It generally was a nice touch. I generally do like Fire Candle. I think he's an interesting kind of character. So having him not blow up was absolutely a fantastic, nice touch. And I can see him fighting Haru over and over and over again, all the way through to the next film or whenever. And I hope that they do bring him back, if they do bring back Sentai, or if they add it into Gavin or whatever they want to do. Because I generally think that that kind of rivalry is really nice seeing in Sentai. I thought it might be with Haru and the Prime Minister, but no, seeing this now is the best thing. So I'm hoping that we see Fire Candle and Haru at least later on in a different form of like Toei's vast projects or something like that. I had to go back and look at this, and I don't know why, like it just seems really, really weird. But you have Kinijo and Sumiko together on a green screen, because you can see by the weird white that goes around them, like a halo effect. But for them just to stand next to each other to say this really small line, but then when you look at the next shot, like you don't see Sumiko next to Kinijo whatsoever. She would have been right next to him, because they're pretty much like shoulder to shoulder. But I just generally found this to be out of place, because it just seems weird, like really, really weird. Now, I know a lot of people have probably said this, or it would have made a lot more sense. But I do generally think that since you have Haru going around collecting the rings, the last scene you could have had Natsume come back and fight Haru. That could have been the last thing, the last fight, because it would have cleared up a storyline that was set up at the very beginning. And since Haru's wished for a new ring war, maybe all the rings go back to the people that had them originally. And that's what I think would have been really cool. You had the setup, you had the space, it seemed like everything was kind of going that way, and then suddenly they just dropped the ball, which really annoys me, because I think that this would have paid a lot off and the fans would have been extremely happy, rather than just being like, oh, he's talking to God and that's all he's doing. So the conclusion to everyone getting their lives back was a nice way to bring things to a close. And I think that at the very end you saw Haru's family there as well, which, if it is true, again, a nice touch to bring it to a close. Now, one thing I really wish that they did was that they never released what Haru said to Goze Polar. Like, literally leave that for the fans to kind of really like think about what was said. Could you imagine, like, in 10, 15 years that scene comes back and it's just what he says? I think that would have driven absolutely everyone crazy, but I think it would have been kind of fun as a little bit of a suspense. But yeah, he's just like, oh, the world's all right, isn't it? It's fine. So yeah, I kind of thought it was all right. It's just the last scene. So with everyone coming back and having Jumbo Franks, which again, nice callback to the first episode. But one thing that I really wish is that Sumiko was there, because it felt like this was empty to me, and it felt like it was hollow, and it feels like it wasn't a proper finish, which really kind of irked me a lot, because everyone's having fun. Now I know that she's off with her sister and she's traveling, but it just seemed like everyone was coming back. Everyone was just like, oh hey Haru, how you doing? And I wanted this to have absolutely everyone. I think that this scene is really, really quick. It's not a long scene. And I think that if you could have brought Simiko in, it would have made this ending like 10 times better. But it just seems like, no, it's just literally the guys. And that's what the entire Sentai has been about. And it kind of just really got to me. It just feels like this was not concluded. Now, I don't know if they're going to do it in the film. I think that they could do. But just for an ending of a Sentai, the ending of your franchise, having your full team would have been good. And I can just imagine that if Maya Amori was there, she would be in this scene. And that's what really kind of like makes me think, like, why didn't you get Kohaku to come back in and just do that scene? It just feels like it. Even if you had to pay her a little bit more, or just ask her, hey, could you do this as a favor and we'll repay this later on? I just feel like that could have been a thing. We do see the last ring, which is for Gavin at the very end. So I'm guessing that we're going to get a toy of this at some point. Wouldn't surprise me that you have to buy the goddamn, like the mech pack or whatever it's coming, like the toy to get this. But yeah, like that was the majority of the actual series. So my thoughts on this. The episode to me was really good, but it had some really bad points at times. Now, this didn't feel like the series or the franchise was ending. It felt like there was going to be a brand new series, like very, very soon. Like next week, we'll find out what the brand new Sentai is. One of my all-time favorite episodes is episode 15, where we have a world-ending event, and it feels really, really cool. So to me, this would have been the way to end it. That excitement I wanted didn't kind of like pan. Like this could have been the last episode could have been something completely different. But episode 15 was the way to end it for me. I just feel like that could have been the end there, and it would have been a lot better in my eyes. That's how it was. It's kind of weird because having the end point of the series where I'm like, it's fine, compared to episode 15 where I'm like, holy shit, this is the end of Sentai. This is the end of the world. That to me was something, which is really weird to think about, having one that's so earlier on. The whole thing with Maya, what she did was wrong, and it did cause a lot of problems, and how most of this series was filmed and what they had to do to redo it. You could tell that they had to think of something to make it all work, yet they could have done something like the Calamity coming in, taking her down so Sumiko was gone straight away, and then you could have edited around a lot of the stuff. But yeah, I just think like if you're going to reshoot some of the stuff, I think the major key points you could have done would have been the best, not just the occasional green screen shot in or whatever. I feel like you could have really added more to it, but I pretty much have talked about this. I do think that the fighting was pretty decent. Bringing back the Ring Warriors was a nice move, and I think that this is one of my favorite things about the episode. Having to do the Ring War was fun to do, and I think that it really gets the show done. And it now shows that Haru can solo the entire universe, which is something that we saw, but this probably means that he is now the strongest Sentai warrior out there. I kind of wanted more, and I think it was having everyone together at the end, as I've just gone into a little bit more depth, and I feel like that would have brought everything together. But, you know, if you didn't have a lot of time with Kohaku, then I think that you should have just focused on the key elements and brought it there. And hell, you could have brought her sister into the cafe at the very end. Like, you know, it's not just like it's meant for the Rangers, it's meant for everyone. Like, you definitely saw it. For the end of the franchise, I thought that there would be a lot more to this. And I just feel like there wasn't enough emotion near the end. Like, hey, your franchise is ending for a while, if not completely, and yet you're not wanting to kind of like add more in there. But yeah, I'm just on it. It's just a bit weird. I loved it, and I had some parts of it. But with Super Sentai ending, it's something that does sting. It's produced 50 years worth of good series and bad series, and I am gonna miss it. I really am, because it is something that I thought would stick around for a long time. But I'm going to bring this video to a close. What are your thoughts on Gozyuger? Let me know down below in the comments and let's discuss. And while you're down there, why not hit the like button and subscribe button, as I'm trying to reach 22,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And I know we can do this. I know we can do this. I have a lot of faith in everyone. And yes, the content will speak for itself. But thank you very much for listening and watching. And I'll catch you in the next video. Hey, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you being here. And I want to say a big thank you to my channel members, Olivia Hayden, Aiko, Kimono Cat, and Tim. And if you want to help out the channel, then consider becoming a channel member. Links in the description if you want to check them out.
あらあら、チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとうございます。チャンネル登録、高評価お願いします。以下のリンクから商品を入手することができます。